How could he do it? I really don't get it. Sure, David Cassidy was a teenage heartthrob and all, and I'm certain that he had many young ladies lining up to date him, but we're talking about Susan Day here, folks. Not only was she a beauty in her own right, but she was David's co-star on the Partridge Family, and apparently, at least for a little while, Susan was equally smitten with David. But end of the day, the fella really couldn't see Susan as anything more than a friend, despite her efforts to help him see that they could be something more. So he broke her heart. More on that in just a moment, folks. But first, let me introduce myself. My name's Dave Sundstrom, and I like to think of myself as something of a pop culture historian, especially when it comes to music, movies, and television. Simply put, I love talking about this stuff. Alright, with that said, let's get rolling. Growing up in the early 70s, the Partridge Family seemed to always be on TV. First, the show ran on ABC TV for 4 seasons, and then it would gain an even wider audience through kids like myself who would watch reruns of the show after school. I loved the Partridge Family. All of the actors were great, but Danny Bonaducci was probably my favorite. In fact, let's have Danny introduce the characters on the show.
We have Shirley, TV's first hot single mom.
See, I didn't have to start hanging out with an older crowd.
Keith, the heartthrob.
Girls are following me around. They just won't leave me alone.
Lori, the hottie.
Not easy being the sex symbol.
And Danny, the talented one. That's me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chris and Tracy, they didn't do a whole lot. And of course, everybody's favorite, Ruben.
In addition to being a ratings hit during its initial run, the fictional family had a bunch of real-life musical chart toppers, including 1970's biggest hit song, at least here in the US, titled I Think I Love You. And I have to believe all of this was very exciting for Susan, who had won the part of Lori Partridge even though she had no acting experience. As I mentioned earlier, even more exciting was the bond that she'd formed with David Cassidy. The two of them had become great friends, and they really enjoyed being with each other, spending time talking, goofing off, and telling jokes. Doing a whole heck of a lot of nothing, if you know what I mean. And from everything that I've gathered, after a while, Susan started to wonder if their relationship could blossom into something more. Even though the Partridge Family had made both of them big stars, the two worked together on the show so effortlessly. It all seemed so simple. Slowly but surely, Susan fell for David, and there came a point when she needed to know if her feelings could be reciprocated. David talked about that moment in his autobiography, Come On, Get Happy. It was when Susan started pouring out her heart to him that he knew their friendship was doomed, because he saw her more as a sister than a lover. In the book, he said that her wholesome looks just did not work for him. Truthfully, I don't know what David was talking about. Just my personal opinion here, folks, but when David broke Susan's heart, I believe that he totally blew it. As the years would pass by, David's star would lose a little bit of its luster. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I loved David in the Partridge Family, and I did enjoy his numerous guest appearances on various television shows afterwards. But try as he might, David wasn't able to find another starring vehicle on a television show that lasted beyond a handful of episodes, while Susan absolutely knocked it out of the park as Grace Van Owen on NBC's LA Law, which ran from 86 to 92. During that show's first 6 seasons, Susan was nominated for an Emmy 3 times and a Golden Globe 6 times, and she eventually took home a Golden Globe Award in 1988. And throughout it all, Susan kept her eyes firmly facing forward. She did not want to live in the past. Because of that, she did not attend all of the Partridge Family reunion events the way the rest of the gang did. But she did every once in a while make an appearance with David, like during the 1990 MTV Music Awards. I don't know what's going on in Susan's mind here, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were other places that she'd rather have been that night. Getting back to David's autobiography, which was released 4 years after their appearance together on the MTV Music Awards. From what I understand, I think Susan found the book to be a bit hurtful and didn't appreciate all of the details that David went into regarding their painful breakup. Years later, I did read that David would express regret for sharing details about Susan and himself that, quite frankly, should have been kept private. Sadly, David died in late 2017. Liver failure, if I remember correctly. And Susan mourned along with everyone else at his passing. Here's a tweet from David's nephew, Jack, that provides evidence that Susan did spend time with David's family, remembering the good times and celebrating his life. You know, we all make choices, some of them good and some of them not so good, and then we spend our lives doing our best to make peace with those decisions. I sincerely hope that both Susan and David have been able to enjoy their separate journeys just as much as they enjoyed their brief time together so many years ago. Alright, now it's your turn. Please feel free to share your memories and let me know what you think in the comments section below. And while you're at it, I would appreciate if you clicked on the thumbs up icon and maybe even considered subscribing to the channel. I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.